It was supposed to be the perfect weekend getaway. My name is Alex Harper. I'm a 28-year-old wedding photographer from Chicago. Last October, my girlfriend Sarah and I drove 6 hours to a quiet bed and breakfast in the mountains outside Asheville, North Carolina. The place was called Willow Creek Inn, an old Victorian mansion turned romantic retreat. Sarah had found it online. She said, "This place has history. In the 1970s, a bride died there on her wedding night. People say her ghost still walks the halls in her wedding dress." We both laughed. It sounded like one of those cheesy ghost stories that make a weekend more fun. We checked in late Friday night. The owner, an older woman named Mrs. Langford, handed us the key to room 312, the honeymoon suite on the 3rd floor. She looked at Sarah a second too long and said softly, "Watch the stairs. The wood is very old." The room was beautiful. A big 4-poster bed, lace curtains, and a tall antique mirror in a heavy wooden frame. On the wall hung one old wedding photo, a young woman in a flowing white gown smiling next to her groom. The nameplate read Emily Caldwell, 1974. We unpacked, ordered room service, and fell asleep to the sound of rain on the roof. Around 2:30 in the morning, I woke up. I heard soft fabric moving across the carpet, like a long dress brushing the floor. Sarah was still sleeping beside me. The room felt colder than it should have. Then I saw it in the antique mirror. Even though the lights were off, the mirror clearly showed a woman in a white wedding dress standing at the foot of our bed. She was staring straight at us. Her veil covered most of her face, but I could see pale skin and dark eyes. She did not move. She just watched. My heart pounded hard. I blinked. When I looked again, the mirror showed only our bed and the dark room. Nothing was there. I told myself it was just a dream and went back to sleep. The next morning, Sarah seemed distracted. She kept touching her neck and saying the room smelled like old flowers. We went hiking, came back for dinner, and tried to laugh about my mirror ghost. But that night, the sound returned, louder this time, like someone in a long dress walking slowly around the bed. At 3:15, I woke up again. Sarah was sitting straight up, eyes wide, staring at the mirror. She whispered, "Alex, she is beautiful. She wants to show me her dress." Before I could answer, Sarah stood and walked to the mirror like she was in a trance. She reached out and touched the glass. For 1 second, I saw 2 reflections, Sarah and the bride standing right behind her. The veil was lifted and the bride was smiling with teeth that looked too sharp. I grabbed Sarah and pulled her back. She blinked like she had just woken up. "What happened?" she asked, confused. "Sunday morning we tried to leave early." Mrs. Langford looked at Sarah with sad eyes and said, "Some guests feel her more than others. Emily never made it down the aisle. Her groom left her standing at the altar. She waited in that room all night, then hanged herself from the ceiling beam while still wearing her wedding dress. The inn kept the dress in storage for years. We thought throwing it away would stop the visits. It never did. We left anyway." The drive back to Chicago was quiet. Sarah kept checking the rearview mirror. That night in our apartment, I woke at 3:15 again. The bedroom was freezing. Sarah stood in front of our full-length mirror wearing her white silk nightgown. She was slowly turning side to side like she was trying on a wedding dress. Her reflection was smiling, but her real face looked terrified. "Sarah?" I called. She turned. Her voice was not hers anymore, softer, older, with a slight southern accent. He left me waiting, Alex. But now I have someone new. I grabbed her arm. Her skin was ice cold. As I pulled her away from the mirror, I saw faint red marks forming around her neck, like rope burns appearing right in front of me. The next 3 days were a nightmare. Sarah would wake up at night walking toward mirrors or windows, whispering Emily's name. She stopped eating. She kept saying the bride wanted one perfect day and that she could give it to her. On Thursday, I came home from work and found Sarah in our bedroom wearing a real vintage white wedding dress I had never seen before. It fit her perfectly. She stood completely still in front of the mirror, veil down, humming an old wedding song. The dress smelled like funeral flowers mixed with something sharp, like chemicals. "Sarah, take that off right now!" I shouted. She turned slowly. Through the veil, her eyes were solid white, no pupils. "The ceremony is almost ready," she said in that borrowed voice. "You are the groom now." I ran toward her. She moved faster than any person should and slammed the bedroom door shut. I heard the lock click from the inside even though our door had no lock. I called 911. The police arrived in minutes. Officers Ramirez and Chen from the Chicago Police Department. I told them everything. The inn, the mirror, the dress, the marks on Sarah's neck. At first they looked skeptical, but when they forced the bedroom door open, they stopped cold. Sarah was hanging from the ceiling fan by a white silk sash torn from the dress. Her feet hung just inches above the floor. The wedding gown lay crumpled beneath her like shed skin. Her neck had fresh ligature marks, but the medical examiner later said the timing was impossible. She had been dead for at least 2 hours before we broke in. I had been standing outside the door talking to her the whole time. The police opened a full investigation. They traced the dress through old inn records. It was Emily Caldwell's actual wedding gown, locked in the attic of Willow Creek Inn for decades, until it mysteriously disappeared 3 days before we checked in. No one at the inn could explain how it reached Chicago. They checked security footage from our building. It showed only me entering the apartment at 6 p.m., alone. Yet I had been texting Sarah all day. The messages came from her phone, which was later found folded inside the wedding dress. Forensic tests on the dress found traces of old embalming fluid and a chemical that causes strong hallucinations. But the lab could not explain how Sarah's fingerprints were already on the mirror before she ever touched it, or why the rope marks matched exactly the pattern from Emily's suicide in 1974. The case was ruled a suicide. But the lead detective told me privately, "Off the record? We found a second set of bare footprints in the dust on your ceiling, size 6. Sarah wore size 8. I moved out the next week. 3 months later, while packing the last boxes, I found an envelope slid under the door. Inside was one Polaroid photo. It showed our bedroom mirror. In the reflection, Sarah stood in the white wedding dress beside me, veil lifted, smiling happily. I was not in the photo when I took it. I had been alone that day. At the bottom, written in delicate handwriting that was not Sarah's, were the words, "Thank you for the perfect day." The groom finally showed up. "See you at the reception." Sometimes at 3:15 in the morning, I still hear silk rustling in the hallway. And when I walk past any mirror, I make sure not to look too long, because Emily is still waiting for her wedding night. And she has decided I am the one who left her at the altar.